common problem if you're a landscape photographer and you like to shoot into the sun is that you often get lens flare, and you can see a couple of examples here. I've got flare here on the clouds, and I could get rid of that using the clone tool, but when I get over here, the flare on the trees is quite severe, and I've also got a little bit of flare coming off here at the edge. I could spend a lot of time with the clone tool trying to remove this and fix it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it looks a bit messy. Now, there is an easier way to fix this, and I'll show you how. What you need to do though is remember to take a second photograph at the same time as the first one. I'll show you what I mean. Here is my second photograph, and it's just the same as the first one except for one difference. It's got my finger in the way. Now, I've used my finger to cover up the sun, and as soon as you do that, you remove the lens flare from the image. So there's the original with the flare, and there's the next picture I took without the flare. Now, what we can do is combine the two together in Photoshop. But first, what you need to do in Lightroom, or whatever photo raw editor you're using, is make the two images look similar in terms of tones. So if you look at the trees area here that I'm trying to cover up, it's very similar now in terms of brightness and darkness as the other image. So the adjustments I've applied to one raw file also get applied to the other, and then I tweak them just to make them look identical. I'm now going to right click on the images and choose to edit them in Photoshop. But rather than just edit in Photoshop, I'm going to choose the option down here to open them as layers in Photoshop. Here I am in Photoshop, and whilst I've chosen to use Photoshop, you can use any editing tool that supports layer masks. Now, we've got our image open and it's got two layers in it. We've got the top layer, which has the flare on, and we've got the bottom layer with my finger. What I need to do though is reverse this. So I'm just going to take this top layer and I'm going to drag it and drop it so it's below the other layer. The reason for this is that this image with the flare is my base layer, it's my good layer that I'm then going to build on. What I need to do next is add a layer mask to this second image. And I'm now going to invert that to turn it black, and that hides everything. All I have to do now is select my brush tool. I'm going to set the opacity probably around 50%, actually is quite good. I've got white selected, and I'm also going to create a soft edge to the brush, and the reason for that is it'll blend my adjustment quite subtly and you won't be able to see it. I'm now going to brush over where the flare is whilst I've got the mask selected. So I'll just change the size of my paintbrush. I don't want to brush in too much, and there we are, a couple of strokes, and that area there has been fixed. Over to the edge here, I just brush over twice and it's fixed, and I can brush over this area here and that's also fixed. If I turn off the layer, you can see the flare. If I turn it back on, the flare's gone, and if I turn off the bottom layer, you can see the adjustment that's been painted in. This is a really simple and easy technique to use if you're out in the landscape and you're struggling to shoot into the sun because of flare. You just have to remember to take that second image with your finger in the way. Now, the secret to really making this work well and making it easy to combine the images is use a tripod. The two images need to be very similar to each other, and that means you don't want to leave a lot of time between them, and you want them to be identical in terms of framing. The tripod's going to help you to do that. Now, as I say, you don't need to leave a lot of time between taking the two shots, and that's to minimise any movement such as clouds. If you've got movement and you're trying to combine the images in an area that's showing movement, you're not going to be able to do it. The other secret is to make the two images as near to each other in terms of colour and tone as possible. That way, when you blend the two together in certain areas, you're not going to see the join. I hope you found this useful. There's lots more tutorials like this if you visit my website. I'll put the details below in the information. I'm Robin Whalley. You've been watching Lenscraft. I'll see you next time for another video.